As an architect or building designer, I bet you love sharing photos of buildings and spaces that you've designed, especially if it's a project you are particularly proud of. That's why so many architecture firms' websites and social media channels are filled with photos of their work, their buildings, their portfolio, and not their people. If that sounds like your practice website or social media accounts, then you are missing out on a big opportunity to stand out and build know, like and trust with people far more easily than your competitors. I'm joined by brand photographer Catherine Turner, who'll share how personal brand photos can benefit your firm in this episode of Architecture Business Club, the weekly podcast for small firm founders who want to build their dream business in architecture and enjoy more freedom, flexibility and fulfillment in what they do. I'm John Clayton, your host. Having spent over 20 years working in architecture, I know how hard it can be to explain your services so people truly understand and value what you do. Many firms struggle with this, but by sharing your stories on podcasts, you can become the trusted voice in your market, grow your brand and attract much better clients. We can help you with everything from podcast strategy and launch, production and management, podcast hosting and guesting, through to promoting and growing your show. If you'd like to discover how podcasting could benefit your business, click the link in the show notes to book a no-obligation chat about working with me. Or if you're interested in being a guest on this show, email John, that's Jon, at architecturebusinessclub.com. Now, let's discuss personal brand photography. Catherine Turner is a brand photographer and also co-host for the You Are the Media London community events. She can help you have awesome photos, whether you shyly cringe or boldly perform while having them taken. She's based in the southeast of England, but travels the country with her kit, including an essential pop-up stool, as she's a bit of a shortie. Catherine is also a wife, a bonus mum, and has a cockapoo called Arthur. Catherine, welcome to Architecture Business Club.
Thank you, John. That's a lovely welcome. As if maybe I knew what you were going to say. I don't know. But yes, I am a shortie, it's true.
I can vouch for that. We have met in person on many occasions. Yes, you are a little bit on the short side, but that's a good thing. That's fine.
Best things come in small packages, apparently, John.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. So, Catherine, we've got a really great topic that we're going to talk about today. But before we dig into all of that, I'd love to hear a bit more about what you enjoy doing outside of work.
John, I might have you here all day just on this bit. I mean, that's this question. What do I like to do? I like walking my dog Arthur, as I already know. I'm taking up wild swimming. I've always been into a bit of like adventure sports stuff. So I was always I used to love like obstacle racing and that sort of thing. But as I've aged a little, that's not so accessible. But wild swimming is. So our local chalk pit lake, which sounds very glamorous, but isn't as glamorous as it sounds, is actually quite really fun for a good dip. I love a bit of gardening. Very dahlias are my thing. Last year, a very successful first year of growing dahlias. This year, not so sure. And I also love a bit of painting, crochet, a bit of diamond art. In fact, this weekend, I'm going to join into a painting jam, which I think is like a cool kind of American way of saying sort of paint-a-thon almost. For 24 hours, because it's the summer solstice as we record this. So yeah, be looking forward to doing some painting over the weekend.
Oh, that sounds really cool. I have to ask you about the wild swimming. That's something that I'd love to give that a try. How was it the first time when you did that and first getting into the presumably quite cold British waters?
Do you know, it's really therapeutic, John. It's so there's something amazing about the darkness of the water. I mean, although having said that, having done lots of obstacle events and being in cold water before, that first sort of time you're going in, I had the wetsuit, yeah, the fear for me, the fear was like that there's this very deep water. It's sort of 5-6 meters down or whatever it is. Like, so there's nothing underneath you. But let's face it, for me anything over 6 foot is 5.5 foot is going to be deep. So that getting in that deep, dark water, not having your phone next to you, you are literally phone free, gadget free, TV free, book free, music free, noise free, everything. It's just absolutely, it is actually delightful. And the coldness is, I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit weird, John, but I quite like it. It's getting warmer now. We were up to, when I went yesterday, it's up to, I think, 19 degrees. The last time I went, it was 17 degrees, which was still a little cold. And I've managed to do through the winter and went down to about 8 degrees. So yeah, you kind of have to prepare yourself. And if you've got the right wetsuit, you'll be fine. So give it a go, John. Go for it.
Yeah, I will do. I think if you're listening to this thinking, I'm going to give that a try, I would say go with a friend or go with a club, rather than like, don't just go on your own into some like cold
random
river or random place.
Yeah, definitely. That would be the big thing. I mean, where I am, it's an organised space, so we have to book and go, and so it's like, it's with people. We've got a lifeguard in our lake, so it's a properly organised place. But I mean, wild swimming when you're actually out in the Lake District or something is another thing. But as you say, be safe. That is and there's a lot of hidden dangers when it comes to water, so always remember that.
Yeah, we're not like the kind of Wild Swimming Safety Commission here, but
no.
Just if you're listening and think, I'm going to give that a try, just like, reasonable precautions and all of that, but have fun too. So, Catherine, we're going to talk about personal brand photos so that architecture firms can better understand the benefits of this for their firm. In my experience, traditionally, if architecture firms do decide to invest in photos, it's usually of their buildings or of spaces that they've designed, not necessarily of the people. That's an interesting thing, really, I think. And from your perspective, I'd like to start with and just ask, why are personal brand photos so important?
So where do I start with this one? I absolutely value 100%. There is the value in them needing to show their work and show the inspirations and show that all the stuff needs to be shown. And that is going to be a key, obviously. But if people are not actually showing the humans behind the businesses, you're totally missing a marketing trick. I mean, you are your best piece of marketing. You're the best marketing tool that you could possibly be, and the people within your business. So if people are not showing their face, you're losing that kind of trust factor. I know it's all very it's a very sort of that kitsch kind of marketing terms of trust, but actually there's so much truth in that. When you look through your feed on any social media, or you look on any website where you're considering a purchase of a service, particularly where you're going to be working with humans, you really, really need to be able to see the humans. That kind of makes sense. And there's it's a big deal. If you've got different professionals within the team doing different things, then they're different humans themselves. And why do we not want to know those people behind who we're going to be working with and paying potentially a lot of money to? Even if you're company to company, if you're working with a big company, you might think, well, it's not important. No individual's looking at me. Well, there is some individual somewhere who is making a decision about where that money is going to be spent, even if it then has to be, decided by a team. It's still going to be, who am I working with? Can I work with these people? Are they going to, do I feel like I can trust them? Do I feel like I can know them? Are they professional enough? Are they, yes, it might say it all in your words. It might be a fantastic looking logo that you've got on your website. But if you've missed the trick of putting your face or the faces of your team in amongst your marketing, And I mean, when I say marketing, I'm talking about your website, I'm talking about your social posts, I'm talking about any appearances and you're making, if you're speaking somewhere, if you're running a workshop, or anything that you might be doing that puts you in front of your potential audience, that's your marketing. And yeah, don't miss the trick of putting you and your face there. Did I answer the question, John, or did I go off on a tangent? There's a possibility.
No, I think you did answer the question there, Catherine. You did, for sure. Yeah, okay. So from what you said, it is really important because it is helping to build that know, like, and trust that people will often talk about. I think we've all heard that phrase used quite a lot, so people will be familiar with that. But it's true, and that if you are presumably, you're running a business, you are selling services, professional services, and people buy from people, so it's great to, you said it was great to still have the portfolio and share, photos of the projects and things, but people love to get to know the people behind the business, like who they're going to be working with, who they're going to be dealing with. And that does sound like a missed opportunity if you're not doing that.
They do. And also I think I may be broad strokely wrong here, but I think like the architectural world is probably seen as one of those very, very, very professional, highly skilled workers, a sort of corporate edge almost. There's suited, maybe not suited, maybe working very heavily in their offices and so on, but there's that office sort of based working, and that is not necessarily the truth, John, is it? That's not the truth. And I think that any way that you can stand out from that the genre that we've kind of created in our head, the way we think of it, if you can stand out differently, you're going to be noticed, you're going to be picked up for the right reasons. If you can in some way represent your brand and what you stand for as a company or as a business or as an individual, if you can stand out differently and do not do what the rest of the crowd are doing, you might feel like you're like, this is really out there. This is really odd. This isn't something that everyone else is doing. I'm going to be frowned upon. Well, heck no. You're going to be the one that's brave. You're going to be the one that is stepping up and into your sort of investable. You're an investable person because you're actually doing the thing that you want to be bold and you want to you want to invest in yourself and make yourself the business that people go to and be noticed. So hey, do it.
Absolutely. Now, I was going to ask a follow-up question. I think you've kind of answered it already, I think, but I'll ask it anyway, just in case there's anything else that comes out from it. That if you're listening to this and you're an architect and you are thinking about getting some photos done, or if you're an interior designer, architecture technologist, basically anybody's professional service provider in the architecture industry, why would they prioritize personal brand photography? What's the case for them to prioritize that as opposed to them getting more photos of finished buildings and interiors?
I think at the end of the day, you in your work are a business and you are trying to sell. And I think all the time that you are hiding away or you're just having the logo and just concentrating on the client work, and forgetting that marketing is a super important thing and forgetting that a super important part of marketing would be you. I think you're missing the possibility of looking at professional in front of your audience. You're looking, and I say professional, and that's like a broad stroke word again, because, you can be a fun and funky, architect, you can be a corporate stomach steady architect, you can be all of those things, but if you're not putting yourself out there and your face out there and doing the whole brand presence thing, you're not being it. You're not being it so that people understand it and really understand what they're going to get from you as a difference. That's, you can hide behind some colors and a nice logo, but it's like just missing such a trick. I think the other sort of part of it is like, if you're investing wisely in your marketing in whatever form that is, beyond photos, if you're investing wisely and you become investable, if you're invest in yourself as a marketing tool, and then people will feel like, well, that's a step more professional than the last person I looked at, or they've got something extra that the other person I looked at only had a logo. It's not very, this is feeling a bit more something. This becomes an investable investment, as it were. Again, people do business with people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought of it from that angle, actually, but that's very true, that you're being seen then to be investing in yourself on your business, which again, it's going to help improve the reputation and, that help build that trust by having that there. I think the other thing, the difference is that, when you're getting photos of finished projects and spaces, that you're showing the work, but you're not showing the person or the people that are doing the work. And actually from many clients' perspective, whilst some of those prospective clients, obviously the work does matter. They're going to be interested in that. But actually their priority might not be that. They might be saying, well, actually, we've got 3 different firms that we've been talking to, and they all seem equally competent to be able to design our building. So what is the differentiator? And that's the thing, isn't it? That if you are visible, if you have personal brand photography that's used in your marketing, it is a great differentiator because you're humanizing it. They're not just dealing with this like faceless business and logo, and to help build that connection as early as possible and to help you stand out, then personal brand photography is a brilliant way to be able to do that. So yeah, I think there's definitely a case for architects and architecture firms generally to be incorporating this into their marketing strategy generally, for sure.
100%. I think there's ways sort of beyond the brand, beyond just the professional photos as well. It's like just leaning into video. Do you think selfies? I know that might absolutely, your listeners might be curling up and going, what? No, I think not when we do a selfie. But honestly, we want more, again, another buzzword, the authentic self, the people, the realness. Brand photos have that professional feel. So that gives you your nice website stuff. It gives you maybe stuff for posts, but there's so much more around the visual content, and I could go down a complete rabbit hole now, John, and talk about that. But yeah, that whole humanizing is a big deal. And let's face it, there are many sharks out there who work in all of our industries, and people will have been bitten by those sharks. Maybe because they chose them because they had nice wording on their website. And then this time they're thinking, hey, I really, really need to know the people I'm going to work with this time. So they're going to look differently. And you might be that point of being different if you've humanized your marketing and your presence. So.
Okay. So I was wondering if you could maybe share some example use cases for personal brand photos beyond just the about page headshot and maybe the LinkedIn profile, because if you're listening to this thinking, well, John, Catherine, this all sounds great, but if I'm going to invest some money in these photos, and I'm going to push myself a little bit out of my comfort zone, or our team are going to have a day where we get some photos done, then we want to leverage this asset that we've got now. We want to, use it as much as we can. So beyond just sticking those photos on an about page and maybe your LinkedIn headshot or Instagram, how else could we use these amazing photos that we get from our personal brand photo shoots?
Okay, so I would go with thinking about somebody like Nicole Osborne. She's a marketer. She is, admittedly so. She's not an architect.
and a previous guest on this podcast.
Okay, John, yeah. I need to go back and listen to Nicole. Well, there we go. She's a fine example of how to sort of prolifically put yourself in the frame of she works with agencies, and she works with big corporate agencies, different agencies, people who they're not, it's not small time stuff. It's this is a big deal. So, but she's not afraid to be that kind of bold person to go, right, here I am on a post. I'm going to put a photo of me, and it's going to be a conversation that's in my mark. It's a conversation starter. So, photos of her doing things, photos of her looking, but she's got a great mix between the professional photos and the authentic selfie type stuff as well. So, she's bold enough to even use some photos with her family, but that's obviously permissible by them. And I lean a little into that actual personal life. But I mean, things like I've just talked about wild swimming, it wouldn't be amiss for some, I know I'm a photographer. I know it's a bit different to architecture, but, there's nothing wrong with sort of saying, okay, this is what I'm doing at the weekend and sticking it in your stories and sort of, again, I think if I was thinking about the architectural firms, I'm thinking that they would be using them, these different individual members between the firm. It could be you could create a theme each month. It's like what did so-and-so have for breakfast this month? What's your favorite day of the week? And what, honestly, the most basic of things that become talking points, which are actually the most engaging content when it comes to marketing. So somebody like Nicole will do that well. I've got another example of a lady, she's called Lucy Ridout. She's a fiction and travel editor. And yes, like all her photos on her professional on her website. She's not into using social media for her marketing. She doesn't work in that sense. But her photos on her website as a professional service provider, who's somebody who's not into wanting to be jazz hands and out there and like, hey, I want to jump around and leap around in front of a camera thing. She's definitely not like that. Calm, nice photos of her, but also to intersperse that with photos that were taken at the time. This is where the personal brand bit sort of comes a bit different, where she's had maybe her hands are working on something, and it all then looks really consistent and it looks really professional to bring her photos together in one place. So yeah, that's kind of pretty cool.
I'm also thinking then that, so the example there was, you said that in addition to using these photos on our about page and, maybe the LinkedIn headshot photo, there's an opportunity to use those throughout our, if we're using social media, if we're on LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever, you can use some of those professional brand photos. If you wish, you can then mix them in with more like selfies or ad hoc things that are a bit less polished. But what strikes me is that if somebody is maybe a little uncomfortable with having their photo taken or taking selfies, actually investing in a set of personal brand photos that then they can use again and again. They can recycle some of the same ones if they've got a batch of photos from the photographer that they've worked with. Like that could be that they could be present online. They could share photos of them, and each time they do it, they've got a really nice selection of photos to choose from, and they're not sat there thinking, you know what, I'm really not in the mood to take a photo, or I feel a bit uncomfortable. The fact that they've basically got a larger batch of some really great shots all in one shoot means that then they can, if they wish, can drip feed those out over a period of months afterwards.
100% that's I think you explained it really well there, John. I think like, for example, when I do brand photography, I will do the photos of the people, their face and smiling and that sort of thing and doing their thing and stuff. But it's also that opportunity to do like a sort of stock set, which is like becomes your personal stock set. It means it's not bought off of Alamy. It's not been bought off of iStock. You've not gone ahead and just used the same ones as everyone else. You've got this whole personal set where your hands are working. Maybe it's an over the head, like from behind shot. Maybe it's a one where you're sort of in the distance even, but it's still you. And you might feel a bit like, well, will they even know that that's me? Does it matter? Can I just use a stock shot? There is definitely a difference between a stock shot off of a stock website and your personal set that all kind of sing together because you've had them done that same day. It kind of makes sense. And also you thought through what your props might be. Maybe you've got something particular on your day. I mean, I've got a little llama and a little frog. And you're saying, maybe there's some personal things that are kind of like around you or part of your day. Maybe your dog is around and you want to just like pay pet. Those sort of shots might be those little nice little talking points or something that means you can, you don't, like you just said, if you're not really feeling it for being more bold, you've got that option to have this sets that you've got that you can pull out at any time, and you can reuse quite easily and dress up your websites and everything with. It makes it really, really consistent. Again, looking professional. Again, great marketing tool. All about you.
Remember, don't forget to join the waitlist for our membership community, where you can meet other business owners who want the same thing as you. A thriving business that gives you more freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Just go to architecturebusinessclub.com/waitlist or click the link in the show notes and enter your details so you don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to improve your business and your life. And if you're enjoying the show, then please leave a 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Now back to the show. Another thing that you mentioned there was you mentioned about, maybe your dog's in some of the shots, that sort of thing. It's this stuff that I've found can really make a difference with building connection, because when you start to reveal more of who you really are, and, it could be that, maybe on the photo shoot, you're wearing, I don't know, like a band t-shirt. I mean, I wear a lot of band t-shirts when I record these interviews. I've got like my guitar in the background. I have like Lego sets and things that I do. So it's little things like that people are like, John's a dog owner. He's a musician. He likes to build Lego. Oh, I like to build Lego. He sounds like someone I'd like to talk to. And that could be the thing that means that they choose your architecture practice over another. As silly as it sounds, they might just think, well, these all look good. They all look competent. But actually, the founder of that firm, well, he's a guitarist and I play guitar, so he'd be cool to chat with. Let's chat with him instead. Yeah. So yeah, that kind of
feels like you're on the same wavelength, doesn't it? When you see something or you connect with, like you just said, it's that connection thing. It's that hook, and also it also makes it memorable. When your brain kind of will work in when it comes from a sort of visual marketing way, your brain will not necessarily remember all the names and all the things that you've read. You might think, but until you've connected it with an image as well, you will remember that stuff when you've seen an image in that, that t-shirt or that guitar or that thing. It really, like you say, it sounds like it might be silly, but when we call to mind people that we've chosen to work with ourselves, if you think about it if you think about a plumber or an electrician or, something else, you'll remember that person that came around, but probably because you remember their t-shirt or you remember like what they had, the conversation they had about their dog, or, you've kind of visually put something into your head in some way, and it makes that connection so much easier. Again, all marketing.
Yeah. I think there was a statistic that I heard somewhere, which I wish I had it to hand because I can't actually remember the numbers, but it was to do with whether or not, like, if people share an image or a photo on social media, that statistically the photos that included a face, that included a person, would get much higher engagement on that post. And there was this, study that was done on that actually those did tend to perform much better. And I wish I could remember the statistic, but I don't have it to hand. So
here you go. I've got a statistic for you, John. You'll like this one. Okay, I've got you. We have in our brains going on an 11 million sensory bits of info every second. Right. So sensory bits of info might mean what we're touching, what we're feeling, the temperature that we're bothering about, what's going on in our eye line, what's going on in our background of our hearing, what's going on, literally everything that's going on around us, our taste, all the sensations, what makes us stand, sit, lay down, whether we're comfortable to do that, whether we need to shift our body weight or something. So all of those 11 million bits are going on at a time. You've got 40 are processed consciously. And those 40 processed consciously, things that will stand out mostly, this won't surprise you, anything that relates to sex or that makes us feel, I don't know why I whispered that, sex. That's it. Okay, there you go. Anything that relates to sex or makes us think or feel or something about that. Anything that relates to food, because these are all our primal instincts. And our biggest one will be faces. Anything that relates to faces. Humans are absolutely engineered, like biologically, to be able to see and notice faces. So when you're scrolling your feed, you will 9 times out of 10 stop on something where you've got a human in that photo or in that post or in that thing, you will notice the human above anything else. So yeah, that's it. That face, the faces, we're programmed for it.
I love a good statistic. And if in doubt, if you're too scared to put your own face on there, a good old dog or, cat photo, that always go down well.
Well, it's their big eyes, cat babies, the big eyes, the eyes thing is actually that our human instinct is to take notice okay, a good example of it is like if let's say you were sitting in a restaurant and somebody starts to sort of look around them and you can see them that you're noticing their facial expression because they're looking at something over your shoulder or something behind you. Your instinct is just to look at it and, you're paying attention to what's going on their face and so yeah, that's a way to remember how important your face is.
That's really interesting. So, Catherine, what would your recommendations be when considering choosing a photographer? Do you have any tips for that? What to consider?
I think a lot of people work via recommendation. That's always a good route. Gather together a nice list of who's possible. Definitely look at websites or portfolios, or Instagrams or LinkedIn's or whatever it is you feel comfortable to looking at, to just get a feel for, again, like as if somebody was looking at an architectural firm, you'd be looking for the style, the way they work, the themes that they work around, that kind of, you'd be looking to see what their vibe is. That might be what you need to look for in your photographer too. And if they are adaptable to the vibe that you might want to be giving off. And then you also want to be looking for them, the person, again, human, can I work with that person? Do I feel like they look quite the comfortable sort of person I could chat to and give all my, I hate my ears thing, or I hate my knees, please don't show them. Like, can I have that conversation with them? And start from there, really. You want somebody, is going to do professional jobs. So they've got a good sort of examples going on. You want somebody who's going to be concise with you because you're, probably time poor. It's quite common. You're in business. So, you need to be somebody who's going to direct everything for you and just get it sorted. Yeah. But have, don't be afraid to reach out and have conversations with people and say, hey, I just wonder if, can you tell me a bit more about what you do and get a feel before you go ahead and go book in someone, just get a feel. And if anyone's super stuck, I really don't mind if they reach out and ask me questions. And that's not to be working with me, but just if they want to say, look, Catherine, I'm kind of thinking about this photographer, but I don't know how to approach it. I'm happy for a conversation. So, I'll help you out.
Oh, that's really generous. Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, I think that's true that obviously the quality of the work and the photography is important. But if you're going to have a shoot with them and if you don't feel comfortable with them, like that could make a huge difference to the whole experience of it. And, if you have a bad experience, you might be like, oh, never doing that again. Oh, I'm never going to have photos done again. That was really terrible. But if you're with somebody that's you click with, a nice person, and, they could really make it such a better experience for you. You could go from feeling like, you know what, I was feeling a bit, maybe I was dreading it a little bit because I hate having my photo taken. And by the end of the day, you might be like, oh, you know what, I actually really enjoyed that. That was so much fun, had such a good day. And that comes down to how that photographer is and how comfortable they're able to make you feel on the day.
100%. And also, like, in the lead up to that time, maybe you've had a chance for a Zoom, maybe you've had a chance for a phone call, maybe you've had a chance for some FaceTime or something, maybe you've joined on WhatsApp and you're asking questions to them, all of that contributes to that day. I mean, I'm telling you now, all that 9 times, I say, I think 90%, here we go, let's give them more statistics because we like it. 95% of people, John, will absolutely hate having their photos taken, and that comes even to the most confident of people as experts within the marketing world, even, so seriously, people just feel uncomfortable. Yeah, it's a weird thing to be in front of a camera and have to perform. It's not your everyday talent. You're not a model, unless you are a model, then that's a different thing. But you're not a model. It's not your thing. So if you choose the right photographer who understands that, you will be super comfortable. You will have a good day. And by the end of it, you'll go out going, oh, actually, that was a bit better than I thought. And actually, maybe I had some fun. And it was a day out of the office. So
yeah, absolutely. Catherine, could you briefly explain photo licensing? How does that normally work with photographers?
I'll give you a brief rundown on this. Okay, so first of all, I'm not a solicitor, so anything I do say, please don't quote. But basically, when photos are taken, whether they're for buildings, whether they're for people, any photo, the photographer in the UK holds the copyright of those photos. Licensing is like giving you a right to the use of those photos. So every photographer will have like some standard issue license. So it might be permitted use for website work, or it might be whatever. They will have their own set of standard, but then you might want something more. So let's say you're a firm that's going to be marketing worldwide. Maybe you're going to be putting up a billboard somewhere, and maybe you're going to create books, and maybe, you've got a lot more uses that you need. So you need to ask for the rights to those, the license for those purposes. And so, it could be to do with the size. You'll get charged differently depending on the sizing, depending on the distribution, depending on the territory you're asking for, and the length of time you're asking for the use as well. You can ask for the copyright. You can pay outright and own those photos. It's not really necessary. It's from our sort of point of view, because for a photographer to give up their copyright, they're giving up their any future potential money that they might make from it. Brand photos are a bit different, because I'm not likely to sell your photo. I don't need to use your photos. I might use some of the stock ones though. In my old age, I might start retiring and putting out some of the stock photos, but not so much the face type ones. But yeah, like for buildings, all that stuff, if it gets shown on the news, then that's the news ought to be paying a license fee for that. So yeah, that's kind of where. But don't be afraid to negotiate as well, because we're a business and we are just trying to create a sustainable business. I think people feel like, oh, the photographer's doing me out of like a load of money and they want this, and sometimes that's not the case. We do want the best. At the end of the day, we want a good working relationship. We want to be able to work with you again. So don't be afraid. Just ask. And if you have bought one set of rights, and then later on you find you need more, just ask, rather than going ahead and hoping for the best. Because there are photographers out there who will have they have search companies that search for photos and will check out who's using them without the rights. Yeah, it's just like music. Just like words in a book, you wouldn't go around copying out people's books and selling them, and you wouldn't go around selling people's music. If you're earning money out of the photos that you're using, then you owe the photographer the rights money.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. So essentially, it's about just making sure that the license is appropriate for the use case. So don't automatically assume when you get some photos that you could use them for anything and everything. If you are going to say for instance that you mentioned about, it's going to be on, maybe it gets used on TV or something, it's possible this could happen. That might be a conversation you need to have with your photographer about the license. But I would say generally, if its use case is things like putting it on your website and your social media, that I think most photographers' licenses would kind of cover that as a baseline. But if you're looking to do other things or reselling it or something, that's where you need to have a conversation about the license.
If you're going to do some PR in any sense and you haven't told the photographer that you're going to be using it, you're going to make a spread within a magazine or something, either you're paying because you're paying for the PR, or if somebody is, if you are being paid for it, then it's the magazine or whoever it is that needs to pay the photographer. So yeah, it becomes complicated with who is doing what. But I tell you the place to go. The place to go for the information that makes it really, really clear. The Association of Photography, AOP, and if you go to info and you go to copyright for clients, there's copyright for clients that gives you a basic overview, and there's an FAQs on there which really covers a lot. So, and that's just for Joe Blogs to go and read and understand if you're really confused and you're like, am I within my rights? Can I use this? Do I need to? And don't be afraid to ask. Just literally ask. We're humans. We're the photographers. If you want to ask.
Perfect. So, Catherine, what would be the main thing that you'd like everyone to take away from this?
Main thing, I think I would like everybody to don't underestimate you as a marketing tool when it comes to visual content. I think that's that nice and precise.
I like it. That's really good. Yeah. Straight to the point. A really good one. Was there anything else you wanted to add that we haven't already covered about the topic?
I think we've covered a lot. You know, I
think we have.
I think that reminder of, like, you know, even for suited professionals, you know, people who are suited and so on, you know, traditionally, and you're seen that way as a logo or a name, you know, be bold and stand out. You know, be yourself. Break the mold.
Break the mold, absolutely. So, Catherine, there's one other thing I wanted to ask you, not about photography specifically. I love to travel and discover new places, and I just wondered if you could tell me about one of your favourite places and what you love about it.
Okay, so I was thinking about this. I was thinking, I'm pick the Lake District. I don't know if you've been there, John. Have you been to
I have many times, yeah.
So I feel like I'm not teaching you anything new, but I think, like, for me, Lake District holds a special place from when I did obstacle racing, and my very first marathon was done as an obstacle race in the Lake District. And we started at Morecambe Bay. And
it's where I was from. That's where I used to live. Yeah, I used to live in Morecambe.
I think I know that. Yeah, and we ran, like, early morning, we ran across the bay. We had to wait for the tide to be in the right place. And we were led out by a tractor across that Morecambe Bay, and then up into the hills and over these hills. And I every type of terrain I think we went on. So we started on that sand, up into like pine, like bouncy pine cone sort of territory, and into rocky bits, and down into Windermere. And we finished in Windermere and on the lake. So my experience of the Lake District, having seen like every little bit of terrain over there, and yeah, absolutely stunning, and the tranquility of it, absolutely brilliant, and of course perfect for any sort of wild swimming. So
absolutely, yeah. Oh, well, I'm with you on that. The Lake District, I love it, absolutely love it. I was last there a couple of months before recording this episode, and with some friends, and we climbed Scafell Pike, highest mountain in England, and we were really lucky with the weather, perfect conditions. I wasn't quite as lucky with my walking boot, which I actually, on the way down, I managed to split my walking boot. Fortunately, it was near the end, so it was all good. But yeah, Lake District's an amazing place. If you've never been there, then you should go and give it a visit for sure.
Definitely.
Catherine, this has been amazing. Thanks so much for sharing all your expertise. Really appreciate it. Where's the best place for people to connect with you online?
Well, I'm going to say my favourite place first. It's going to be Instagram. So you'll find me as entirely Catherine Photography, Catherine Turner on Instagram. But I am featuring on LinkedIn too. It's not my favourite place to be, but do say hello there. I do check in. So that's where I'm going to be.
Cool. And
if you've listened to I'd love it if people listen to the episode and they say, I listened to the episode on John's podcast. Just say hello. That would be really cool. Thank you.
That would be great. And what about your website? Where can people find that?
That is entirelycatherinephotography.com. Yes, that's me. You will find me
awesome.
There.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I put a link to your Instagram and your website in the show notes.
Marvellous. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it. Really good chat. Thank you. And I really hope that we've inspired a few architects to break the mould.
Absolutely. I hope so too. Thanks again, Catherine. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Architecture Business Club. If you liked this episode, think other people might enjoy it, or just want to show your support for the show, then please leave a glowing 5-star review or rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean so much to me and makes it easier for new listeners to discover the show. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. If you want to connect with me, you can do that on most social media platforms. Just search for @Mr. John Clayton. The best place to connect with me online, though, is on LinkedIn. You can find a link to my profile in the show notes. Remember, running your architecture business doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need to do it alone. This is Architecture Business Club.